What is it about a woman that makes her so damn dangerous that you make her feel like she doesn't belong and you try to keep her small? What is it that makes a woman so powerful that you feel the need to take from her? Where does she get this power from? Not only men, there's women that are trying to keep other women small too. Why is that? What is it that she has that you don't? I'm going to tell you what makes a woman so dangerous. But first, I'm going to tell you a story about a time in 4th grade when a boy came up to me and said, "You are so pretty, I would do anything for you to be my girlfriend, but you're way too mean and you have a bad attitude." Now, I don't know how another 4th grader would take it, but you see, me, I knew this had something to do with my past lives. This was something that I remembered very, very young. How we feel about other men and women does begin in the home. But where did that begin? There was another time in kindergarten, walking home from school, that a 7th grader came by and picked me up off of the ground by my neck. 2nd grade, these two boys would chase me around every single day to the point I was in tears and begging them to stop chasing me around, trying to grab me and kiss me over and over. You see, I was gifted this necklace from Mexico, and one day I just took it off and decided to hit one of them with it. Who got in trouble for that? You think they got in trouble for trying to assault me every day to the point I was crying and trying to protect myself for a long, long time? You think they got in trouble? I was the one who had to talk to the principal. I was the one who had to stand up against the wall. What about the time in 2nd grade, a boy walking home from school came by and told me everybody in my class calls me a and that's why I wear my hair in ponytails. My hair wasn't even in a ponytail that day. How safe do you think a woman feels when there's always somebody trying to take something from her? Where do you think these boys learn this from? And why do women feel so bad just for existing? You see, they tell you that a woman's dangerous. They don't tell you about the dangers of being a woman. But you want to know what? They weren't wrong. The power of a woman is dangerous. And I'm going to tell you why. You cannot be both a victim and powerful at the same time. With power comes responsibility. You cannot build anything in heaven in the higher realms of this dream from power that came from someone else's essence, love, pain, or loss. And even if you do, when the one who was stolen from reclaims their power, everything built on their power, their electricity will crumble when you least expect it. The power will go out. You cannot build a beautiful relationship, a business, or beauty from another's passion. Yet, so many are going after what someone else has, taking something that is not theirs, someone else's lover, their life, their children, their position, their money, their essence, their destiny. Sometimes the enemy comes in and takes it by force, and other times it shows up right on your doorstep, and little do you know, when it shows up, it is a test. Will you take the bait? Will you bite the apple? Or will you go after what is meant for you, not what it appears to be? Because that is where your power lies. It is in your heart. Your heart is also where your identity lives. And the fastest way to get to somebody's identity is to trick their heart. Are you aware of the power of your heart? Are you aware of the power of your identity and your destiny? When you think of the word weapon, what do you think of? Be honest. Is it something that's going to hurt somebody? Or is it something that's going to protect you? The truth is, your heart is a weapon, and so is your body. and that is your God-given weapon. You can use it to give life and to build, to protect, or you can use it to destroy and manipulate. In some cases, people might use your own weapon against you. Medusa was attacked because she had something that another woman and another man wanted. Like Medusa, there are many women who are lusted after by both men and women. They will do anything to destroy her, to take from her. But what is it that they are trying to destroy? Her beauty, her destiny, her essence, all three of which come from God. It comes from love. And it is much bigger than you think. This is not about her. Her beauty doesn't come from her looks. Beauty is of the heart. It comes from the way she makes people feel. How many times have you had someone blame you for making them feel insecure, feel jealous, feel turned on, for just being yourself? That is not to say that there are not people who do intentionally manipulate others, but for the most part, there are people that are blamed and attacked and called a temptress simply for existing, for being beautiful, for carrying an essence. There are those who will blame other people for bringing up feelings, not recognizing that those feelings are within themselves and their responsibility. I have never once met an attractive person with an ugly heart. This is about God reclaiming power over the enemy that tries to destroy natural beauty of humanity, the earth, and the animals. Skincare companies, social media, constant programming of fake, demeaning sensuality, forcing people to get married, misleading a society into creating businesses and families that were never a part of their destiny. Identity theft. Identities are stolen every day, and this begins in the womb, in the home, in childhood, and the internet. And what happens when there is no turning back? What happens when you have been so abused that your heart or your head, you turn to stone and no longer desire the things that you once enjoyed as a child? What if that is the goal of the enemy? To steal your innocence, to get you so far away from love that you do not trust the world. You lose your will, your desire, your faith that life can get better. And what happens when it has gotten so bad that you are taken off of the path of your true destiny? Your identity and your destiny are not separate from one another. When I say that you cannot build anything in heaven that came from another's power or pain, if you are building in heaven, you are building something that you love, something that is meant for you, because anything that is meant for you comes from heaven. It comes from the higher part of you. And the higher part of you is what is considered the feminine part of the body, your connection to the divine. So when God gives you an idea, a business, a message, and puts it in your heart, even as a child, God may have told you who you are, and you take action on that idea, you are building in heaven. And what part of Medusa did they cut off? Heaven. The head is where the crown lies. And there is one king and only one king. So they will do anything that they can to cut off your connection to the power source. If you are not building in heaven, if you are building from another's power source, or if you are building what we consider hell, you are building from what you see. These are your lusts. This is what most of society is doing. This is how identity and destinies are stolen, even your own if you are going after what it is you see, what you see people doing online. That is not your destiny. This is how you are taken off path and wind up in broken marriages and businesses by what people say, by what people do. What you see is the lower nature. You got your ideas from lust. It looks pretty, so, and it worked for them, so you might take it and run with it. But God only backs the ideas that you were given in your heart, be it a business, family, relationship, product, machine. Anything that you are putting your attention to is either coming from a higher place or a lower place. And that lower place is what you see on the world and online. You see that couple with their beautiful house and what they have, or that man on the boat with a group of friends. If it is real, that means that they built that on love. The creatives, those with open hearts and imaginative minds, they come here to build new, innovative, beautiful, and honest inventions and lifestyles. The creatives did not come here to build what they already see in the world. The creatives are the power source. Think about that. What happens when the enemy wants to use you to build its own kingdom? And when the victim becomes the villain, that's what happens. To be fully transparent, that is what a lot of society has been doing. Maybe even you, maybe those around you, maybe your family, people who have came in and pretended to be your friend. The only way to make sure that you are on the right path is to be fully transparent, to lay things down that were picked up on the way that never belonged to you in the first place. People, relationships, businesses, ideas, thoughts about the world, thoughts that were projected onto you, identities that were projected onto you, thoughts about yourself that made you believe that you could not have everything that you wanted. Anything that made you believe that what God is trying to give you, what you came here for, is not yours to claim. God is saying it is yours if you stop looking at the world around you and focus on what it is I am showing you. Listen to me. I am in your heart and I know the way. There is no talking about power without talking about our source creator, the ultimate power source. However, for those who do not necessarily believe in God or a supreme power, this is very much about your guiding light and your North Star, your destiny. Are you creating your destiny, or are you giving your destiny away to build somebody else's dreams? There is not a competition. Competition is for those who are lost on their identity. Anyone who knows their identity knows that no one can take what God gives you unless you give it away. And you give it away by giving your time, attention, power, focus to things and to people of lust, the things that you see that you want, not necessarily what you're guided to. Jealousy began with the gods and goddesses, and they are very much still present here. These are archetypes, these are spirits, these are stars, and they are working through people every day, and most people do not even realize it. Jealousy is still somewhat learned in the sense that it is part of a very deep programming that says that there's not enough to go around for everybody, and is oftentimes a result of manipulation. Competition was built on theft by power-hungry animals. This has came up a lot in that masculine nature where women began competing with each other for men as well. Men compete against each other for what? Because what is for you is already yours. You need not manipulate anything that is for you. If you understand alchemy, you understand that is within you, not outside of you. That is just another way to lose your power. If we are going to talk about Medusa, we must understand a little bit about the poison and the medicine of the snake, of the serpent. This is what Medusa's hair turned into. This is a superpower. The snake medicine is some of the most powerful medicine that there is. However, just like everything else, there is a good side and a bad side to it. It can go either way. And you must understand that when you defeat your lusts and your fears, that is what the snake represents, you gain those superpowers. The hair is also a superpower. But you must understand the difference between your desires and the desires of the world, because we were told that our desires were bad, that being beautiful is bad. There's a lot of things that we are told and shamed for, just for existing, just for being beautiful, just for having desires. Desires are not bad. It is the desires of the world that will get us in trouble. And these, again, are our lusts. They say love is blind, but it is not love that blinded you. It is not love that blinds you. Love has never blinded anybody. Love will set you on the right track. Love will remind you exactly who you are. You will recognize it in another. Love reminds you where you come from. It gives you the power to do what you came here to do. It is inspirational. And you want to do it because you are doing it in the name of love. It stays close to your heart. Love is transparent. It is open. It is honest. It is lust that blinds you. Betrayal is a wound that runs deeper than the ocean. In fact, it began in the stars. Those two are not separate from one another, and they are not separate from you. You are them. Medusa is also a star. This is the star Algol, and the stars are spirits. This is where we find the story of Medusa. The serpent and the snake, this is the distraction. This is the poison of the snake. This is how the serpent works. It is trying to veer you off path, trying to put something shiny in front of your face. And what is shiny might look exactly like what you thought you wanted. When you do not understand what your true desires are and what the desires of the world are. The medicine of the snake, this is also of sound and frequency and vibration. Our entire universe and sound is made of vibration, and the snake can sense a shift in your hormones, in your sweat, in your bodily fluids. And what happens when somebody comes into your life, or somebody says something, or you eat something that is distracting your body from its natural state, that is taking it out of alignment. This is a distraction. And some people are here simply as a distraction. And there are people who do not care whatsoever. Their part in your life, or if it is going to hurt. There are people who will befriend somebody for years, and not have true intentions. People will ruin their own lives, the lives of others. They will betray their own soul for lust. They are not going to stop to consider others. When some people lust after something or somebody, they will do whatever it takes to get it. They do not care who they have to step on to get it. Mary is said to have stomped on the heads of the snakes. She conquered her fears. She stomped on her lust. She defeated those snakes in the grass. Mary represents the purification, and the purification is the ultimate path of transformation. The distraction comes in and says, no, hey, come look over here. Also think about the two different trees. There's the tree of life and of wisdom. This is what comes natural to you. This is what you came here, you were meant to do. This is the manna that you received from the highest that tells you what you came here to do. And then there is the tree of death, AI, the internet, online, that says that's the distraction. Where are you getting your information from? When we are talking about AI, we're talking about something without a heart. Without a heart, there is no imagination. Without imagination, there is no creation. This is the path of death. The right brain is the feminine, creative part of you. Without that, we are basically a robot. That is our empathy. You go online and you see people going for jobs. These are all distractions. Oh, they did this, they did that. I'm going to do this. I made this much money with this in my business. So what? So what? Is that what you were told to do, or did you find that online and decided I'm going to take it and run with it? A lot of people did this with a lot of medicine. And the thing about the snake is the feminine. The snake is the medicine. Now we get into the true power of the feminine and the medicine. The feminine is the medicine, the feminine aspect of you, your sensual energy is your medicine. It is incredibly healing and powerful. It is your creative energy. That is the medicine. So when we destroy the womb and the heart of the feminine in you, this is destroying your healing ability and your creative power. It is through the feminine, through the womb, that you access God. It is the womb that connects you to source. If that is not power, I don't know what is. And it is through the mother that a soul is brought from heaven and is birthed onto earth. It is through your creative power, through both the masculine and the feminine, that creation is possible. So what happens when you separate the two and make them turn on one another, make them hate on one another? The caduceus, this is the two serpents around the spine, and they meet each other all the way up throughout the spine. You can also consider this the two mothers, but in this case, we're going to consider this Ida and Pingala. This is where God is complete in the womb. The science is the masculine, and that is meant to support the feminine, which is nature. Science is meant to support nature, not demean it, not say that it's crazy, that it's dumb, that you can't prove it, because you cannot prove the feminine, because that is the spirit. You cannot prove your emotions. You cannot prove God. You cannot prove that your pain is real. You cannot prove love, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. The thing is, you will find that the majority of people's problems, of people getting off track, of people's unhappiness, you will find that the majority of people are doing everything in their power to avoid feeling pain. People fear pain. Both anger and revenge are a cover for pain. People are going after their lusts to avoid the pain of the hard work, of the discipline. People will avoid facing their fears because they fear that it will lead them to pain. They fear being vulnerable. They are escaping into addictions to avoid pain, to escape the pain. But the mother in the feminine says, I'm part of this. This is what I feel. The poison is oftentimes the medicine. Where there is pain, there is healing. Where there is pain, that is acknowledging that there is something going on or something is wrong. When I was going to school for medicine in homeopathy, when there is a plant, there is a part of the plant that will cause the symptoms that another part of the plant is going to treat. So say that eating this one part of the plant will cause a rash, or say it causes a headache. Another part of the plant, or a way that you mix this plant, is going to treat that very symptom. The pain is oftentimes the medicine and a sign of healing, which means that somebody is going to have to come into your life, and it'll oftentimes be a snake that is going to show you the pain. It is going to point out and make you face your biggest fears, and is going to tempt you with lust. If you know about Lilith, of course, and the serpent, the connection to Lilith and the serpent, there are many connections to the serpent in many of our stories. The entire existence of Earth is connected to the serpent. I am the last person that is going to advocate for any type of harm that has been caused or dismiss it. This is simply the spiritual side of understanding Medusa and the wounds of betrayal and jealousy. If you know about Lilith, she has a return every 9 years. She works in a 9-year cycle. This does not mean that you will not face lust and temptation and test in between this 9-year cycle, but you are, in a sense, guaranteed a test at 9 years. Are you going to sell yourself out, break integrity? Are you going to bite the apple, take that temptation, even though something doesn't feel right, even though you know that it's wrong? And this test can look like everything that you ever dreamed of, because you do not know your desires. It will tempt you, and people are always blaming the temptress that may not even be doing anything, because the temptress is also oftentimes living in integrity. You will find that these temptations and these offers are not always breaking integrity. It's a test to see if you will. And if you do not know your worth and your value, chances are you're going to bite the apple. So when you have been shamed, this is the key of the womb and the serpent. When you have been shamed for being beautiful, for being intelligent, for bringing out others' insecurities and their doubts and their fears, and you are attacked, which is lowering your self-worth and your self-esteem, that makes you think that there's something wrong with you, the serpent will come in and say, in the past decade, did you bite the apple? Somebody hurt you, so did you sink to their level and now you're going to try to hurt them back? Do you know your value? Do you know your worth? Because if you did, you would not settle for less. You wouldn't risk the integrity of your body, of your mind, of your destiny, of your money, of anything else. You would never allow that. When that billionaire comes in with a job offer, is that going to change your tone? Is that going to make you break integrity even though something feels off about it? When you get that job offer, that is logical, but it kind of goes against your will, your destiny, or what you believe in, or what you want to do, but logically you need the money. Integrity is to consider what is in the best interest of all involved, and you cannot fake it. I was working with a woman once who did not know that I was an intuitive medium, and what we were talking about, she was really passionate about. And I said, hey, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but I feel called to mention because there was also a presence. But I said, I have a feeling that you're going to be called out of this cycle and you're going to begin a new cycle in what you are interested in. I said, I don't want to ask what it is that you do, but are you spending time on this topic, on these passions? And she said, no, I work and I have kids. So we were talking, and she told me what she does, and that, which happens to be on this topic of conversation, and said that she does not believe in it. She said, I know it's wrong. She said, I know it's all a complete fraud. And she said she knows that it is all around wrong in every way, but it pays really well. She also told me that she just had a hysterectomy because she had really bad endometriosis. But this is the thing. When you have a hysterectomy, the endometriosis, that is not a cure for it. The endometriosis does not stop. And when it comes to, in my work, what I have discovered, when you are imprisoned, when you are betraying yourself, the betrayal is a womb, okay? This is a womb issue. This is going to affect your reproductive system. So whether it was abuse, whether you were betrayed, there are other reasons too. This is one of them. Or you are betraying yourself, you are selling yourself out for money because it pays well, but you do not believe in what you are doing. This is self-imprisonment. You are chaining yourself to something that you do not agree and you do not believe in. You are going against the will of yourself, and the will of yourself is expressed through your body, through every single cell in your body. So when the body is fighting against itself, ask if you are fighting against your own will. So does betrayal hurt? Is that a big part of Medusa? Yes, but do you want to know what hurts at least as bad, even worse, is self-betrayal, because now you have to forgive yourself for selling yourself out, for every single time that you ignored your intuition when you knew that it was wrong, when you knew that something was off and you didn't listen, when that jealous friend made that underhanded comment one single time and you ignored it because you maybe didn't know your worth. You wanted love. You wanted money. You're empathetic. So you didn't know how to set boundaries. But the medicine of the serpent is intuition. That is the medicine of the mother. That is the feminine, that you have your intuition. It is the feminine that you can see in advance, in spirit, what is going to happen before it happens. And this goes for man and women. But when it comes between a man and a woman, It is the woman who leads spiritually. It is her who can sense what is coming in advance. So when you have two people that are tapped in, that is power. For you to be in your power, you must be neutral. You must be closest to God, and God is neutral. This means you are not overly high. This means you are not overly low. You are not insecure. You are not overly confident. This means that you are in full integrity. Integrity is not only what you are doing behind closed doors, this is how you talk to yourself. And integrity is a foundation. Your foundation must be built in integrity, your confidence, and everything else, your faith. This means that nothing can break that integrity. That means nothing outside of you. And this includes what people say, what you eat, the products that you are using. If you have noticed that people who are ill a lot and requiring something outside of them to make them feel better, and who are dependent on something outside of them, I should say, of course, we all need medicine at times, right? But people who are depending on that are not willing to own up to their own stuff. You, to be in integrity and to be in your power, must be able and willing and wanting to own up to what is going on. The serpent will always come in to test your integrity. And again, they may very well be in integrity. It is to see if you will move out of integrity. The serpent has been a story of earth since the very beginning. The serpent is deeply, deeply rooted into the core of earth, to the very beginning. And if you haven't noticed, the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, and a lot of other serpent tied to the 13 and the mother, because the serpent is about breaking past the threshold. It is about breaking past the 12 cycle into the 13th. Just like in video games, when you have to beat the big bad something in order to win the video game, right? But these big bad serpents are going to make you find your medicine. These big bad serpents are going to make you face your fears. They are going to come in and point out your weakness. So, are you going to allow that to take you out of your element? Are you going to allow that to take you away from God? Are you going to allow that to take you out of your integrity, out of your power? I work a lot with women and the spiritual reasons and purposes behind imbalances. And when it comes to hormonal imbalances, this is something that is very common. You are in charge of your hormones. Nobody else is in charge of your hormones. You are in charge of your hormones. You are in charge of your body. There is a reason they call spiritual medicine snake oil, and that is because you cannot see your emotions and feelings. You cannot prove that that reaction your body is having is because of that relationship that you're in, or because of a generational wound, or because of an emotional wound from childhood. Many fertility issues are a result of emotional and spiritual wounds, and fertility is not only for creating children either. This is for all creation. There was a day that I had an incredibly powerful algal Medusa activation. The theme of this day was about losing your head, just completely losing it, and emotionally. Then I got to my appointment, and one of the clients of this group, she was having to wear wigs for a few years. Then another topic was me discussing with them how women and us as young people, both men and women, are not taught the power that we have. The power that we have to choose to get married, who our husband is, if we want to get married, if we want to have children, when we have children, and even more so, the person and the husband who we have children with. And when we have children, I was in a relationship for over 15 years that I did not use birth control. I had complete control over whether or not I did conceive, all natural. And these women were fertility specialists. The serpent, the snake, symbolizes fertility. This is all about fertility and creation. When I was talking about it with these women, they said, you need to be sharing this. And this was a big call because I had already been called to Create Conscious Love, a course earlier that year, months before I had this meeting and this activation. This is a course based on higher love. There are people who come here to be in partnership for a purpose, to work together. This is the foundations of that, but of any type of love or partnership, even friendship, creating a family, and how to track your ovulation cycle naturally. They told me, they were fertility specialists, that they had a lot of couples who came in who the men were very rude. They were unsupportive. They did not know anything about the woman's body, and oftentimes the woman did not know anything about fertility and the woman's body either. We learn a lot about this in elementary school. So these are all things about taking your power back and understanding your body, your family, what you are creating. You have the power to do that. This is not a fantasy land that we live in, that you get married. Again, power requires responsibility. Can you be trusted with that responsibility? Can you be trusted with the power of that family, of that beautiful child you want, of that beautiful relationship? Can you be trusted with that business? Or are you susceptible to distraction? Let's say that you hold resentment. If you hold resentment, you are still a victim. Love is not earned. You are lovable as you are right now. Power, however, is earned. You will have to earn your power. Nobody is ever, and has never in the history of any time came in and handed somebody their power. And I have had this conversation with many women, clients that I have had in front of me, that it is very emotional, a big breakdown, because oftentimes many women, particularly married women and mothers, do not realize the resentment that they are carrying on their heart for the support that they are not getting, for the things that they need that they are not receiving. And otherwise, it is resentment towards one's own mother or one's own parents. Most people did not have parents that supported them to earn their power, which is a big part of what makes you so powerful. Because every time that you have been shut down, shot down, and held down, and your power has been taken away from you, it forces your soul and your spirit to grow and move around that. There is no gaining of power without opposition. When you fast for long periods of time, when you force yourself to overcome something, to change something, to break ties, when you force yourself to do something differently, that is where you gain your power. Once you regain your power and you reclaim your identity, you are in neutral. What are you going to do with your power? Are you going to use your power to create, or are you going to use your power to destroy? You are the Garden of Eden. You can choose the tree of life and wisdom. You can choose the tree of your authentic self, or you can choose the tree of death. If you did not recognize the Algol star, the Medusa star, Algol is the beginning of algorithm. You can choose the algorithm of your heart, the path of your soul, your true nature and identity, or you can choose the man-made algorithm and what you see, but only one of those two algorithms is your true destiny. One of the most important things to remember is that nothing here is ours. Nothing. Even this body is borrowed. And the only thing that we take with us is what is in our heart. If that is pain, if that is resentment, or if it is freedom and bliss, that is the only thing we leave here with. Going after what someone else has or something that they did, that is self-betrayal. It is saying that you do not believe in yourself and you do not trust yourself. You must learn to trust yourself to not make that mistake again. Just like you do not like being blamed for being beautiful and intelligent or any other reason, you cannot necessarily blame a snake for being a snake. It is in their nature. It is safer to assume that people are neutral. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to share with you 2 personal examples of what coming out of integrity might look like. Although there are very aggressive and manipulative ways that we can do this, this is a little bit different. The first time was when I was getting ready to move out of a place that I lived. I was renting, and the owner, she was a woman, was coming over with her husband to check the place out. They were getting ready to list it for sale. When I found out they were coming over, which that day I had on kind of like knee-high boots, they were taller boots, a longer skirt, and a sweater. When I found out they were coming, I went to change. And when I got into my room, I could feel the Holy Spirit move through me in my presence and say, "Why are you changing? Do not change." There was nothing wrong with what I was wearing. It was only my knees showing, but due to past experiences, past judgments, wounding, and conditioning my entire life, after so much of it, I was trying to go out of my way to prevent offending somebody. And this couple, it had nothing to do with them. I already knew that they were God-loving people. I had no reason to believe that they would be judgmental, not to mention offended. This was simply due to past experiences. And me trying to prevent judgment or offending somebody, that was me coming out of integrity or going to, had I changed. You can tell by the video in the beginning that that judgment for me and many others began in elementary school. The second example of coming out of integrity, which is a true teaching of Medusa. If you understand Medusa, you will have gone through this, and this is what is happening, is a deep, deep guilt and sadness and even repentance for ever having been intimate, even in committed relationships, in any way that favored the body over the soul on either side. And what is happening here is the stone walls are breaking down around the heart, which allows this soft, pure, honest, honorable love to come through. The role of the masculine is to protect the feminine, whether it is out in the world or within. Your masculine, your inner masculine, which is your body, must protect your inner feminine, which is your spirit and your soul. Back to talking about neutrality. Finding your spirit animal is so important to understand the nature of yourself and the nature of others through the animals. The anima is the spiritual aspect of both you and the dream. Looking for your destiny in the world instead of looking at what is right in front of you in this very moment is like salt looking to sugar or cinnamon and trying to fill its role or take its place. Can you imagine an eagle or a cardinal trying to do the work of a jellyfish? How long could it stay underwater? Imagine a little cub being jealous of a hawk because it cannot fly. Imagine that little bear looking in the mirror every morning, doing affirmations and waking up trying to fill the role of the hawk. And the hawk is like, "Why are you so obsessed with me? Why can't you love yourself and stop focusing your attention on me? It would not work, and that would never happen because the animals, they are on their true soul map connected to earth, and so is your heartbeat when you are in alignment with yours. The animals do not judge themselves or compare themselves to others. No matter what disguise you use, eventually the masks will fall off. They deeply understand their true nature, and I suggest that you learn to understand your true nature, as you will navigate this dream effortlessly, and you will know that regardless of the circumstances you face, that you will still wind up where you are meant to be, because your map is your destiny. Your identity declares your destiny, and your true identity is not of this world. You must reclaim your identity and lose the false identities. Medusa's head being cut off also does symbolize the ego breaking down, the identities breaking down, particularly the false identities, so the nature of your true identity and true source can shine through. Your name, the vibration of your name, maps out your destiny. Then look at Mary and the purification stomping on the head of the snakes and her lust. Did Lilith steal babies, or does she represent lust? And lust steals the seed of men, or do men give their seed to lust? It is in his will. No one is responsible for your will but you. What you do with your sensual energy and your creative power and your pain is a choice. It is also a power, and with power comes responsibility. Will you use it for selfish purposes, which goes against your destiny, or will you use it to break the threshold and break the cycle? It is not your fault that you were told the stars are outside of you on TV or anywhere else. Your North Star is the spirit within you. Your destiny has always been within you. I currently have a course available, the one I spoke of earlier, a very inexpensive course called Conscious Love, where we discuss the foundations of higher love and commitment for all relationships, including building friendships and family. I have just introduced a new incredibly powerful protection oil. It is an anointed oil, and this oil is very potent in protecting the crown, the hair, and the dreams, and the scalp. It is a self-defense oil, and spiritually, the ingredients are exceptionally complementing for menopause symptoms, boosting the immune system, cleansing the lymph, and for self-defense, offering cellular protection against invasion. At the time of recording this, I am offering the Identity Analysis Report, which is gathering information from different soul maps, which is integrative care in aligning the soul with the right path, regardless of which timeline you are on. We do not want to leave here unfulfilled. Your Christed name, the vibration and sound of your name, has a very beautiful story to tell and is connected to different parts of the world and both your past, present, and future. All who are here in this time have medicine to offer and are introducing medicine of the future. We find out the most about ourselves and our path and who we are through those who play a significant role in our lives and our experiences, whether it is through pain or joy. The heart is the best teacher. To avoid relationships and friendships for fear of pain, of vulnerability, is to deny the soul your destiny. The internet is incredibly useful to share our gifts, services, and medicine, but the internet is secondary. It is not reality. Remember why Wu told you to protect your neck. Power is not manipulative. The villain is wounded. The villain is a victim. You cannot be fully in the love of God and insecure at the same time. They are contradictory to one another. To be in fear is a contradiction to the love of God. To be in lust is contradictory. It is often the serpent that will push us closer to God.